How's it going?
Good, very good. Just arrived in Amsterdam. Sun is shining, so all good.
Okay. Before we talk about the new record, or Eve, I'd like to go back to the beginning. Planet Claire, how do you look back on it now?
How do we look back on it?
Yeah.
Well, it's fond memories, of course. I mean, it was the first record deal that we had. It wasn't the first band, though, that we had. We even had one before, which was called Indian Summer. But it was the first time we had a proper record deal, actually a major record company deal. And we did our first little tours, and the first record was on the charts even. So it was a good time. And then it was followed by the first techno experiences, and then it's along many stories.
And in terms of the music, you say you even had a band before. Was the music that you had in that band and in Planet Claire, was it anything like what it has become now?
I think we always had a fable for electronic music. It was always with electronics, and we started to do electronics on a stage already in 88 or something, 1988, and it was these times when the equipment was not made for electronic music on a live stage. So in the end, I stood alone with my acoustic guitar there, and all the rest was off. It was just me and the acoustic guitar in the end. I think you
Drum
had
machines. I probably had a tambourine.
You had a tambourine or something, yeah. So, but yes, we grew up with electronics, and we are big fans of electronic music from the 80s. So it was very obvious for us to play this music as well, and I think it didn't change so much. So I still play keyboards and he still plays drums. It's the same setup. We do this for a long time. Of course, the music with Planet Claire was much more poppy. It was a little bit like Depeche Mode-ish, Pet Shop Boys, stuff like that.
So then it didn't really work out. Is it fair to say?
Well, it's it was the first band, and at that time I remember we were signed to this record company, and then they had all these restructures and everything, and how it many times is with bands. If you know your A&R guy, that's the guy at the record company, he left, and so there was other people, and then these new people need their new bands. At that time, I mean, we were really kids. We were 18, 19, 20 years old or something. So we didn't realize what was going on. Nowadays, I completely understand that it was a political thing. But on the other hand, it's great. It pushed us forward, and we then reached the first wave of techno music in the early 90s and worked a lot as producers. And so everything is there for a reason. I'm very happy with
and
what
we had a
what
chart
happened.
success from the start. The first single was in the German charts, which was quite unusual for a band from a very small region from Germany. We had no big management or anything like that, and it was very difficult to get a record deal in the 80s. It was not like this, like it is nowadays, where you can call the chief of a record company and just tell him that you have a great record. At that time, you couldn't even talk with the guys at the reception. It was really hard to get a record deal. And so it was a good success and a very good entree in the music scene. And from that point on, a lot of things developed.
Did you take it? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, and of course it's nothing compared to nowadays. Nowadays we work pretty much independently. I mean, we have partners, of course, with the record labels who help us and who release the music in some of the worldwide territories that we have. But in general, we're quite self-sufficient, so to speak. We do what we do, and nobody needs to tell us what to do. That wasn't the case when we were kids, obviously. But that's the learning curve you have.
Yeah, is this something that you then learned from that experience that came out of that, where you thought, well, we don't want to be in a similar situation. We want to be in control over what we do?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. And for a long time, we weren't. I mean, even now we barely work with majors. I mean, even the record label that we have here in Holland, it's a big independent company, and that's the way we want to work. And we set up a label. You know, we're skipping centuries, of course. Decades, not centuries, decades. But we set up a label called Get Physical more than 10 years ago, and that was also due to the fact that we realized that we wanted to be our own bosses and we wanted to be independent. And it was the best decision we could have.
Well, you mentioned Get Physical yourself. This is kind of what launched it. Were you at that point, you haven't had an album out as Booka Shade, but did you write a lot of your own music already? Was there, because you produce obviously a lot, but was there a lot of own material that you were making?
At that time, before we created Get Physical, we did a lot of pop music productions. We just produced music. We didn't perform music. We just produced it. And then we came into this river of, let's say, TV, Star Search, pop idol things, right? And we were very connected with the TV scene, and we did a lot of music for commercials, TV commercials, for brands like Levi's or BMW, whatever. And we just said, okay, we did so much work for all kinds of brands and people, and it came to that point that we said we want to do something that is really us again, that we represent. And so we met the guys from M.A.N.D.Y and DJT and said, why shouldn't we do a label together? Also out of the fact that the music we did or produced together was, it seems, unreleasable for the people around us. So nobody wanted to release music that we made. And we said, okay, so let's just do our own label. And Get Physical was a huge success for us. And then we produced the first, I think, 13 records or 14 records of Get Physical under the names M.A.N.D.Y or DJT, Sunset People, and all these kind of projects. And the guys came back when they did DJ shows and explained us how great it is, and the people react so well, and it's such a great vibe. And we said, okay, how can we see this on our own? And we said, okay, let's do a band like Booka, or let's do just like a live act so that we can go out and play and see the reaction of the people. That was the reason why we did Booka Shade.
Because obviously you had been playing before live. Was it difficult to get back into it after being a producer for so long?
It took some time, yeah. We had some major issues, definitely, because we took a lot of... It was at the moment, or nowadays, you have the situation that a lot of people have a lot of equipment. They have all these big light systems and whatever, 3D animations. But when we started, it was not natural to have so much equipment with you. Most of the people had records, vinyls, or they had CDs at that time. I think it was not even the time where they had just a USB stick. I'm not sure. So, but we had drums with us, we had keyboards, we had all kinds of things like visuals in the back, and of course we had a lot of issues. And we learned a lot, because I remember that we played the first gig here in Amsterdam. I think it was our third gig ever, and we had our own whole studio with us. And when we arrived, we played the show here. It was a great night, and we came back, and I saw on the belt on the airport, I saw our equipment coming up, and it fell down on one corner. There was a big rack in the one corner, and everything was broken in the case. Everything was done. So we learned our lesson.
But then again, on the other hand, you still perform, you still play the instruments live on stage. And I've read something about where you make a distinction between DJ sets and being live acts. So is this important to you to instead of being behind the desk, to actually play the music when you perform?
Oh yeah, it's very important for us to distinguish between the DJ sets and the live sets. First of all, we are musicians and producers, so the natural thing for us is to play live. That's our reason of being, basically. And that's the great fun, basically, because when we take the songs on the road, we always have new arrangements. We have different arrangements even of the new record. We have special live arrangements, and then of the old songs we rework everything. This is actually the first tour that we do where we play songs from all the 5 records, which is nice. And we took out some very old songs and reworked them. So at the moment that's great fun to play. Now, so that's the live show. The DJ thing is a completely different art form. I have great respect for DJs. It's just something different to playing an instrument. But having said this, for us it's also fun to DJ because we can try out new songs much more easily than we could do in the in the live show. Because in the live show we have, many channels, all the instruments are there, we have visuals running in sync. So it's a bit of a hassle to try out new songs. And that's what the DJ set is great for. And you can do it in very small rooms also, with people standing around you, and that can be big fun.